Grasses are trimmed after winter when the lawn starts to grow. But before trimming these grasses, it's important to wear gloves since some grasses can be very sharp. So, we're going to put on gloves, the gloves that will also help us clean the inside of our grasses. We need shears to cut them. We're going to give them a trim, a bit of a bowl cut, or with pruning scissors. A rake to clean around the grasses, and then we're going to add compost and an organic fertilizer that you can now find in stores, specifically for grasses. We're now ready to start the trimming. So, depending on the height of your grasses, we can classify them into 3 categories. Small grasses, medium grasses, and large grasses. Here we have angel hair, and we're going to trim it to a height of 10 centimeters. For that, I'm going to use pruning scissors instead, rather than the shears. So, we're going to take your hand, and with the gloves, at the height of the glove, that normally corresponds to the right height for trimming. So, we cut them. Now let's move on to the other medium-sized grasses. And for that, we're going to use the shears. So here we have a medium grass that grows to a height of 70 centimeters. So with winter, the leaves tend to droop. So it still provides protection during the winter. Above all, never trim them before winter. That's also why we trim them after winter. After winter, we also notice some small leaves starting to sprout at the base. So we're going to trim just above. So with the shears, we're going to shape it into a ball. You also have the option to keep these dry leaves. It can also serve as mulch, both at the base of your grasses, or you can chop them up and simply add them to the compost. In the range of large grasses, we find miscanthus. Depending on the species, they can grow to over 2 meters in height. 2 techniques for cutting them. Either you use shears or why not a pruner. I chose the pruner because I'm going to collect the stems. Some miscanthus that will serve as stakes for my perennials or maybe in the vegetable garden. We trim them to a height of 30 centimeters. A clean cut. So in principle, we wait for them to start growing to trim them. Now we're going to move on to cleaning our grasses, and especially we're going to feed them. For the small grasses, like angel hair, I recommend using a small claw tool that will help you pull out the roots of the angel's hair, which are soft. They belong to the same family, so they are always quite delicate to remove, as are other grasses. Once you've properly mulched around your grass, we're going to enrich it with fertilizer. So there are special organic fertilizers for grasses. We put in a small handful, well distributed around. We rake behind, and we can also add a bit of compost. The value of a 14 centimeter pot. To properly nourish your grasses, we lightly bury it. If you have a little mulch, you can bring the mulch all around to prevent other weeds from growing at the base. And above all, so that the grasses regain some freshness and can grow more. For medium-sized grasses, I recommend the aerator, which will allow you to aerate around your grasses without damaging the roots of the cultivated plant. On the other hand, it will allow you to remove the roots of dogtooth or bindweed. Bamboos are also part of the grass family, but be careful, they are not pruned in the same way. At the end of winter, we simply trim the canes that have been damaged by frost. We cut them at the base with pruning shears. To summarize, small grasses are pruned to 10 centimeters above the ground, 20 centimeters for medium-sized grasses, and 30 centimeters for large grasses. And then remember, when the grass grows, it's time to trim the grasses.